Listen, I don't want any more bullshit.
Oh, man. Oh, fuck, I know you've been waiting for this one. I know you've been waiting to hear from the voice of fucking reason. A voice of facts, logic, reason, and of course, no bullshit on what the fuck happened. What did we watch Sunday between the Bucs and the Colts? So the Colts take on the defending world champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the hated Tom Brady at the helm. And look, we all knew this was going to be a measuring stick game, a statement game, just like last week was on the road playing the Buffalo Bills. And we got that. But the Colts ultimately go down 38-31. And the crazy thing is, this game somehow became the most divisive game of the year. You got Colts fans at each other's throats all over the Twitter sphere and the interwebs and on the radios and in the podcast comments, all fighting back and forth over whether the Colts lost this fucking game because of their turnovers and mistakes or because Frank Reich, quote unquote, forgot about Jonathan Taylor and didn't run him in the third quarter and passed the ball 26 times in a row. I know you've been waiting to hear from the fucking voice of reason, somebody that can cut through the bullshit and reflect for you what the fuck actually really happened. And I promise you, I'm not going to let you down today, bullshit-free gang. We're going to jump into this and really deconstruct and dissect what happened and which one of those things occurred. There's been arguments on both sides. People have gotten heated as fuck. I've had a lot of fun going back and forth with people on Twitter, as I always do. But we're going to get to the bottom of it in this fucking podcast, all right? So sit back, strap in, buckle up, and let's break this shit down. But before we do, let me be the gracious host that I always am and that you always love, and welcome you back, or if it's your first time, welcome you to the greatest fucking Colts podcast on planet Earth, full stop, bar none. The NFL's #1 uncensored Indianapolis football Colts podcast. The often imitated but never duplicated and yet more and more hated from some of these bullshit haters out here. The one, the only, the world's famous or maybe infamous bullshit-free Colts podcast. The only podcast on the planet, and this is becoming more and more true lately, where you can hear all things worth talking about and discussing when it comes to our beloved Indianapolis Colts. But here, baby, no matter how many bullshit narratives and people all in their feelings are flying back and forth around us, here, baby, you get it with no coach speak, no PR, no spin, no political correctness, and most importantly and most enduringly, 100% no fucking bullshit. I'm your host, Harkan Ajala, at your motherfucking service as always, and we're going to break this shit down right now. Without any further ado, let's jump into this shit because this game, I get why it's gotten the response it's gotten because it's one of the most frustrating games, not just of this season, but for a team that's at the developmental point that the Colts are right now. It's one of the most frustrating games. And yet it's one of those games you can't get around because this is part of the journey. It's part of the journey of a team that's developing into a real bona fide Super Bowl contender right before our eyes. You can't get around these kind of games, but they hurt just the same. So let's break down what the fuck really happened and whose fault it really was. What was really to blame for the fucking heartbreaking, mind-numbing, making you want to throw up fucking second half collapse that resulted in this unnecessary and extremely unpalatable loss at the hands of the rather lucky on this day Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And on this day, the really fairly fucking pedestrian Tom Brady. But before we do that, I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to get some housekeeping out of the way. And if you've been here before, you know what we need to do right now because you're a motherfucking pimp. If you're here for the first time and you're still listening and you haven't run off screaming with your hands on your ears because, oh, he's cursing, my goodness. Well, then use a pimp too. So I want you to help me out. take your pimp ass index finger and smash that like button below, because it helps the algorithm share this podcast all around the world with other diehard, bleeding blue, real deal Holyfield ass Colts fans like yourself who will enjoy it and appreciate it. So make sure you smash that like button right now. Make sure that you subscribe so that you get the notifications from YouTube whenever I drop these. Share this with somebody else who will appreciate it. I appreciate every one of you guys. You tell me in the comments, hey, I'm telling people about this. I'm sharing this podcast, and we can see that because it's growing more and more every week. And finally, if you appreciate what we're doing, you can always help us out by donating. There are 3 ways to do it below, and we appreciate anything. $20, $15, $10, $5, even $1 helps us continue to produce these. And for the ones who are the real day ones, who are the true blue hardcore supporters, because you demanded it, we have a bullshit-free Colts VIP Patreon. The link is right below. You can join that and not only support us, but get some content you can't get anywhere else. It's completely exclusive and, of course, uncensored and unfiltered. All right, now we got all that out of the way. You know what time it is. It's time to jump in this bitch, strip the bullshit away, and talk about what really happened. It's time for the enlightened view on the Colts versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or put another way, the way you guys love to hear me say it, let's chop it the fuck up. So what the fuck really happened? Like, what did we see? Well, what happened is what you saw. It was fucking mad frustrating because you saw what I saw, what the world saw. The Colts really outplayed the Bucs yesterday, but they lost because of themselves. They beat themselves. And this shit is crazy frustrating because it was clear that they should have, not only could have, but they should have beat the Bucs Sunday. Unfortunately, what happened is part of the development of a team that is up and coming and on the way to becoming a true Super Bowl contender, but isn't quite there yet. But make no fucking mistake about it. They was in the Bucs' ass. They were outplaying the Bucs, and they definitely really outplayed them. If you don't believe it, go back and watch the game. I did, as always, a couple of times. Devoid of the emotion. Go back and look at the Bucs' faces and body language in that first half. Now, of course, they did what, teams do after the game, after the outcome was in hand, right? Bruce Arians like, nobody runs on us. I don't care who the hell you are. Let me tell you something, Bruce. I love you, bro. I love Bruce Arians. Love you. But, man, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. All that fucking fake bravado. Man, get the fuck out of here, dude. Just sit back, lounge, kick your feet up, and be the NFL's version. Enjoy being the NFL's version of Steve Kerr, dude. You coaching the Warriors, man. You got a loaded team with one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. It fell in your lap, and with Brady, you were on your way to mediocrity, bro. Look what happened. Before Brady got there, you were on your way to the same ending that happened with the fucking Arizona Cardinals. Then Brady fell in your lap, and with Brady came all these dudes who wanted to jump on the bandwagon, right? AB and Gronk and all these other dudes. Plus, you already had a lot of talent in place. You just didn't have all the gaps filled in. You got fucking lucky, dude, and I'm not mad at you. And you're a great coach. You're a very good coach. I don't know about a great coach, but yeah, BA is a good coach. Great coach. I'll even give him that. But nobody runs on us. I don't care who the hell you are. What the fuck are you talking about, Bruce? That was unnecessary to say and dumb to say because Jonathan Taylor rattled off 58 yards on you in just the last drive, bro. What the hell are you talking about? 58 yards is enough in a game to have a 1,000-yard season if you do it across 16 games. And how you fuck you talking about nobody runs on you no matter who the hell you are? Fuck out here, bro. The Colts outplayed the Bucs. They just shot themselves in the foot. And if you don't believe me, I mean, the game stats tell the tale. You know, in the immortal words of Jay-Z, the Jigger Man, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. Not saying that he's the only person that made that up, but I like how he said it. So let's actually look at the game stats. Okay, Buccaneers, 359 total yards. Colts, 392 total yards. Buccaneers, 217 passing yards. Colts, 285 passing yards. The Bucs had 142 yards rushing to the Colts' 107. And yet yards per play, the Bucs were 5.7. The Colts were 5.9. Third down efficiency. Bucs were just 2 for 8 on third down. The Colts were 5 of 11. Fourth down efficiency. Colts were 2 of 2 on fourth down. Colts ran 67 plays to 63 plays from the Bucs. Now the Colts, so now where did the problems come in? Colts gave up 3 sacks, Bucs 2. Bucs only had 4 penalties for 44 yards. Colts had 6 penalties for 66 yards. The Bucs had 1 fumble lost. The Colts had 3 fumbles lost. The Bucs had 1 interception. The Colts had, they marked for 2, but really only 1 counts because the last second interception, it's in the books, but you're throwing it up. You really shouldn't count that. But the Colts had the ball for 30 minutes and the Bucs 29.59. So that's pretty even, but you look at it, the Colts got the better of the Bucs. Tom Brady was only 25 for 34, 226 yards passing, 1 TD, 1 interception. Wentz, 306 yards passing, 3 TDs, and I'm only giving him 1 interception because that other one shouldn't count. 3-1. Jonathan Taylor, 16 carries, 83 yards, a 5.2 yard average. Leonard Fournette had 100 yards on 17 carries. He was 5.9. He's a little better, but most of that was that 28-yard run at the end of the game, which I'm not so sure the Colts didn't let him do that. I would have, but that's another thing we can talk about later. Gronkowski had a great game. 7 catches for 123 yards. But, Chris Godwin, 4 for 24. Shut down. Mike Evans, 3 for 16. Shut down. Shaquille Barrett had 2 sacks, including the big strip sack that really turned the game. And then the Colts, Jack Doyle, 6 catches for 81 yards. Pitt had 4 for 53. Wasn't Pitt's best game. It really was. He had a couple of misses there. T.Y., huge TD catch, 4 for 28. Darius Leonard had 12 tackles. You had DeForest Buckner with a big-time sack. Kwity Paye had a sack, his 3rd sack in 4 games, by the way, which is amazing. Again, Jonathan Taylor, 5.2 yards per carry. 83. Nobody runs on us. Dude, he was 17 yards away from 100. If they'd have ran him 2-3 times in the third quarter, he had 100 yards on your ass. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit, man. No need for that cornball ass chest beating after you just bit your fucking nails and got a win by the skin of your teeth. You won by 7 points, dude. You was down 24-14 at the half. Shut the fuck up, Bruce. You know I love you. So the game stats tell the tale. The frustration is what has caused so many people and Colts fans to vent by looking for somebody to blame. Because the fucking game, this loss is so frustrating. Because it was right there. It was right there. The Colts were 24-14 at the half, got the ball at the half. It couldn't have gone better. They get the ball coming out of the half. They're driving down the field, and they're at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20-yard line, about to score at least 3 points. Probably 7 the way they were moving the ball. So they were about to go up either 27-14 by 17 or 13 points, right? Or 31-14. So they literally had been up by 16 points. And maybe put the game away at that point. Like, if that strip sack hadn't happened and the Colts had scored an additional 3 points, they'd have won the game. No doubt about it. But it's so fucking frustrating because Fisher gets his ass beat like, he stole something. Shaq comes around, causes a strip fumble, and it all went downhill from there. And it's so frustrating because not only was the win in hand, but it was against the defending Super Bowl champions, a great team. They have the best roster, top to bottom, of anybody in the NFL, against the hated Tom Brady, right? And in a game where we would have gone to 7-5 on the same day that the Titans lost again, got just embarrassed by the Patriots, and dropped to 8-4. We'd have been one game back, well, two with the tiebreaker, but we'd have been right in the thick of things at 7-5. Hell, the Bucs would have only been 7-4. Would have dropped to 7-4. We'd have been not only a second statement game in a row, but then you're getting two of the games that in this final stretch you thought, man, we might lose both of those. If we need to get one, we'd have had both of them. You talk about momentum, and it was right there for us, and we all know they should have won it, but they didn't. So the Colts fans, venting, frustrated, angry, looking for somebody to blame instead of just accepting the fucking obvious. And that brings us to the question of the hour. Why did they lose? Why did they lose? Was it the turnovers and mistakes? That's like one side of the Colts fandom, right? One side of the media, Colts media, journalists, etc. Or Reich forgot about Jonathan Taylor in the third quarter, and because they threw the ball 26 straight times, and that should never happen because it's in some rule book somewhere. You can't throw it that up. And, JT's the best player on the team and the best running back, and so at no time should you not hand him the ball once in a 26-game stretch. Listen, that's the narrative that has been framed, okay? They lost because of this or that. Well, I'm here to tell you the only reason, I can't even fucking believe we're having this conversation. This is what we're arguing over. Because it's fucking ludicrous. I mean, it's just, if you step back and divest from your emotions or your biases, because you got people who just hate Reich and hate his play calling or hate Carson Wentz and whatever, you step back, the fact that it's even a question is fucking laughable. It's laughable. You cannot win a fucking game against the defending world champions stacked ass roster, okay, with 5 fucking turnovers, folks, and 6 penalties for 66 yards. Even let's take that last turnover away, though, because that's a throwaway. 4 turnovers that lead to 21 points, and you only lost by 7? And you wonder, I'm not sure if that's why they lost. I think it's because they threw the ball 26 times. It wouldn't matter. So JT still had 83 yards. Here's the thing. If you broke those 26 pass plays up, people are stuck on 26 in a row. It's ridiculous. It doesn't really matter if it was in a row. If you break those pass plays up, and you took some of the carries, some of Jonathan's carries from the fourth quarter, and you put them in the third quarter, it wouldn't make any fucking difference if you got a goddamn muff punt on your 10-yard line that turns into 3 points. If you got a strip sack on the opponent's 20-yard line that takes away 3 or 7 points, and then they march down and put 7. I mean, what are we talking about here, people? People are not even talking about Nyheim Hines fucking fumbling a punt on his own 10-yard line. I haven't even heard it, like, barely mentioned. Like, nobody's even mad at Nyheim. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? You lose a game by only 7? And A guy fumbling on his own 10-yard line when all he's got to do is catch a punt and he's called for fair catch? And you barely talk about it. You don't think that's why you lost? You think it's because of some arbitrary amount of pass plays that should never be called? Listen to me, not talking about Hines' fumble in a game, in a loss like this, it's like you went on a date. You went on a date with a hot chick, if you're a man, or, woman, you flip it. You went on a date and you sat down, you're sitting at dinner, and you're having a conversation. And then you had to pass gas, and you tried to do it like silently and right, without attracting attention, and instead you end up shitting on yourself. And then you say, oh man, she won't take my call, and it's because, when we were talking, my conversation wasn't interesting. Really? You think that's what it is? Didn't have anything to do with you shitting on yourself at the table during dinner, during the fucking appetizers being served? For real? Come on, folks. You take away the punt muff alone, or the strip sack of Carson Wentz. I heard somebody's like, oh, Carson fumbled away. Man, what the fuck are you talking about? That had zero to do with Carson. Oh, he should have gotten rid of it before then. What are you talking about? Go back and watch the play. This kind of dumb shit like this. Again, I don't have a problem with anybody having varying opinions, but when your opinion is just dumb as shit, come on, folks. It had zero to do with Carson Wentz. That was all on Eric Fisher's ass. He just got beat like he stole something. Shaq Barrett ran straight around. Carson Wentz blindside. Carson never saw him coming, and he sacked him and stripped it, and then he recovered the fumble. My thing is, goddamn, Eric, you got beat that bad. At least you should be there to jump on the goddamn ball. Holy fuck. You take either of those, just those two plays away. Don't even worry about the interception that Wentz threw targeting Michael Pittman Jr. when the safety at the same time made an unbelievably athletic play, and before he did that, pass interference on Michael Pittman that the referees just didn't call for whatever reason. That's fine, but even if you let that one stand, take away just either the muff punt or the fucking strip sack, and the Colts still win. But y'all, some of y'all, it's because they forgot about JT. Before we even get on to that, let me just say this. About that muff punt, man, this is becoming a real fucking problem, by the way. Naeem, if you listening, bro, dude, I love you, man. You're a great player and a great component of this team. But this muff punt thing, man, is becoming a fucking problem. Like, you can't muff one punt a year, dude. You can't muff one punt and lose the fumble each year. And that's like what's been going on. It's getting to the point where we might have to look at somebody else to run those punts back, bro. But even setting that aside, look, people, let's look at the true impact of each thing that happened. I just broke down the turnovers. They led to 21 points in a game that you lost by only 7. But let's look at this thing about, well, Frank Reich forgot about JT. He forgot about the best player on his offense. Ran and threw the ball 26 straight times in the third quarter instead of having Jonathan Taylor run it. Now, I'll go with this. I would agree. I would have liked to have seen Jonathan Taylor on the field for some of those plays as a decoy or what have you. That would have been cool. I would have been okay with them mixing in a run here or there, but this is what y'all are not getting. Two things. Number one, the reason they didn't run the ball is because of what Wentz was seeing out there on the RPOs and what they had seen in that first half when, the Bucs, who, by the way, had the best run defense in the league, were loading the box up and being like, you're not going to run on us. You heard fucking Bruce Arians talking about that after the game. You're not going to run on us. Here's the second thing. All that shit was working. Those passes y'all are fucking complaining about, they were working. And they would have led to points except for the fucking turnovers, the goddamn strip sack. You feel me? And I'll hold Wentz accountable for the MPJ interception. It wasn't perfectly thrown. Now, I still think MPJ should have and could have gotten a better attempt on it. But hey, I'll put that on Wentz. But either way, the fucking shit was working. They scored 31 points. Plenty. It's the fucking turnovers. People are like, well, Reich, he just forgot about JT, or he wants to make Carson the hero. He wants Carson the quarterback. He's trying to prove something. What the fuck are you talking about? Reich just ran JT like 40 times the week before in Buffalo, an even more important game. And now you think he forgot about him? He's like, I'm not going to. I could use him, but I'm not going to because I want to prove something with Wentz, and he's my boy. Man, what are you? Come on, folks. I understand a lot of y'all in your feelings, but you can't be that fucking dense. Don't just be ludicrous. Look, don't let these attention whore shock jocks and clickbait hungry podcasters use your anger, frustration, and disappointment over this admittedly heart-wrenching loss to sell you on some nonsense narrative. What happened is exactly what you saw. A team with a foundation and the frame in place to be a Super Bowl contender, going toe-to-toe with and outplaying for most of that game a loaded defending Super Bowl championship team that just did what those teams do. They found a way to make just enough timely plays and to take advantage of the less experienced team's mistakes and self-inflicted wounds to eke out a fucking win, even though, again, the Bucs were really outplayed. Just like the Manning, Harrison, Edge, Saturday, Wayne, Freeney, Mathis bracket, but they era Colts used to occasionally have to do. They would win games just like you saw the Bucs yesterday. Get outplayed most of the game. The other team that wasn't as good, wasn't experienced, would make some mistakes. The Colts would capitalize on them, and they'd have just enough timely plays, a strip sack from Mathis or Freeney, right? A big hit from Brackett or Bethea or one of these guys that dislodges a football, right? They would just find a way. Peyton would be just good enough, make a pass here or there, or, check out of a pass into the right run at the right time, whatever, in order to eke out a win. That's what we saw yesterday. That's what we saw. And that's all we saw. And as for this fucking Brady narrative people want to throw, Brady ripped the Colts' heart out again, as is par usual. Man, let me tell you something. That bullshit lazy take. No, I like Bob Kravitz and I like his stuff. But Bob, get the fuck out of here, bro. Brady was marginal in this game at best. I just read his stats to you. 226 yards, 1 TD, 1 touchdown. He made some good plays, but he was marginal to the outcome of this game at best. And I know a lot of these sports journalist guys, they want to try to curry favor with their sports media buddies and show off how unbiased they are. Look, I'm an indie writer who covers the Colts, but I can call Brady the GOAT. Man, okay. Look, don't get me wrong. I acknowledge Tom Brady as one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. No doubt about it, based on his accomplishments and what he's done. He is one of the greatest, but not the greatest of all time. No, sir. So you can't be the GOAT with 3 confirmed incidents of cheating during your career, okay? Now, other motherfuckers may be scared to be called haters or sore losers some shit for pointing that out, that shit happened. It wasn't like made up in Hollywood. That shit happened. It wasn't conjecture. They got fined, lost draft picks, etc. for that shit. Brady had to sit out 4 games. Okay, so this ain't like, the Colts fans, butthurt. Nah, this is what happened, bro. So other people may be scared to be called haters or whatever for pointing that out, but I'm not. Can't be the GOAT with 3 confirmed incidents of cheating during your quote-unquote GOAT career, homie. So what we saw, look, that was a great, entertaining, heavyweight match that lived up to the expectations of the game. It was a great game to watch. It was fun. It was exciting. Went down to the wire. Colts were right there in it. They should have won it. But it's a game that they lost, not got beat in. And believe you me, you saw it last week in Buffalo. You saw it Sunday. You saw it in Baltimore. People are like, oh, the Colts can't beat any good teams. Shit, they've beaten several this year. Even the Titans, that second game. They've beaten several. They just didn't finish it. Trust me. Trust me. The time is coming. The time is coming when they won't beat themselves with these dumbass growing pain mistakes. And when that time comes, it's the rest of the NFL's asses. Real talk. Bring the fucking hardware and lay it at our feet, baby. That's real talk, no cap. But you know what? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. This has been back and forth all week. Like I said, this is why I like to put these out on Wednesdays. I like to get a couple days so I can hear what's being said back and forth through Colts fans on Twitter, radio, podcaster guys. By the way, some of you podcaster dudes, fucking Twitter tough guys, you know who you are. I know some of you cornball motherfuckers listen and don't want to, be hating. Listen to the podcast hating. Now you can't put your little dislike button on because YouTube removed it, I guess. I don't give a fuck. I wish they put it back. I don't care. But yeah, you Twitter tough guy motherfuckers, you know who you are. You don't want this smoke. Better go somewhere else, homie. You don't want this. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Where you come down on this? Am I right? Is it just obvious? Even though we may be mad and we want to try to fight it. Do you see, you with me that, look, man, it was the turnovers, mistakes, shooting yourselves in the foot. That's what lost this game. Not because they passed it 26 times in a row or didn't give it to JT in the third quarter, or you think it's different. You believe the opposite. If so, give me the reason, baby, like Luther Vandross. Put it in the comments. Maybe if you make a compelling argument and I see something I didn't see, I'll say, okay, yeah, I'm with you. Let me know in the comments. But you know what? Either way, here's the deal. Here's where we are going forward. We're 6-6. Somebody, well, we're 6-6. That's the bottom line. Well, we were 0-3. That's how we started. That's the bottom line, motherfucker. So we're still 6-3 in the last 9. You feel me? And still in the thick of the playoff hunt. So here's the deal. We're 6-6. There's 5 games to play. We need to win 4 of those 5. If we win 4 of those 5, I think we're in. Okay? We got to beat the Jags and the Texans. Texans are up next. Now those two, look, if we can't beat them, we don't even belong in the playoffs, right? So that's 2. You got 3 left. You got Arizona. You got the Raiders, you got the Patriots. My preference is you got to get the Patriots and the Raiders because they are AFC teams and they're both teams that are competing for the playoff spots, particularly the Raiders. So my thing, and I believe the Colts can beat both of them. I'm not a believer in the Patriots. I mean, y'all, whatever. We'll see how it plays out. You playing that fucking 5th place schedule. Okay. Nobody has film yet on your guy. All right, whatever. We'll see soon enough. But that's where we are. We got 5 left. We need to win 4, and if we do, I think we're in. That's what we need to focus on. Let's go out and get that shit done. Y'all have seen what the Colts can do. All they need to do is cut out the mistakes and don't beat themselves. And then when they do, they can beat anybody. So let's go out. Let's do that. Let's get in the fucking playoffs. And let's go out and win another fucking Lombardi, baby. Peace. And win another fucking Lombardi, baby.